So I've made videos in the past talking about which serial killers could survive Dexter Morgan, and you guys have absolutely loved those videos, but those videos were all about Prime Dexter from the original series. Now that Dexter Resurrection just dropped, well, it didn't just drop, it's been out for a couple of months, and with another season already confirmed on the way, just got confirmed by the way a couple days ago, I started wondering, could older Dexter still take down these serial killers, or has his age finally caught up to him? So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. The tiers that we have in this video, at the top we have They Beat Dexter, which is pretty self-explanatory. Next we have 50-50, which is also pretty self-explanatory, but essentially what this means is either Dexter could win or the other opponent could win. So it's a toss-up, really. Anything goes. It'll take some time, which means it'll take some time for Dexter to get this guy on his table, but inevitably he will lose. And one episode kill is, yeah, Dexter will kill this guy very easily. There'll be nothing in his way that will stop him. Coming in first, we have Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs. Now, normally I always talk about the TV version of Hannibal Lecter, but since we're dealing with older Dexter, it's kind of only fair to put him against older versions of these killers too. So for example, when we get to Joe Goldberg later, we'll be using season 5 of Joe, etc, etc. Now, in Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal is locked up at first, but he manages to escape through pure genius, using manipulation and psychological warfare tied to the Buffalo Bill case. And that right there exposes one of Dexter's biggest weaknesses. See, Dexter thrives on control. Even in the original series, he always needed to run the show when getting his victims on his table. And even in Resurrection, we see that part of him still hasn't changed whatsoever. It's just the true nature of Dexter Morgan. Now, he's still pretty sharp, and he handled Leon Prater's serial killer club with almost ease, but nothing near his prime, and he is also fresh out of a coma. So if Dexter tried to hunt him after he escaped at the end of the movie, I feel like Dexter would have a lot of trouble of even tracking Hannibal down in the first place. And if he ever did track Hannibal down in the first place, it wouldn't end well at all. Because if Hannibal Lecter doesn't want to be caught, he won't be caught at all. In my opinion, Hannibal Lecter from the movie does indeed beat Dexter, and that's kind of, Then next we have season 5, Joe Goldberg. So in this season, Joe's living the high life. He is now a billionaire thanks to marrying Kate Lockwood. But here's the thing, we've seen Dexter handle billionaires before, because in Resurrection, he didn't just take down Leon Prater, by the way, he wiped out his entire serial killer circle. So right away, Dexter's got experience dealing with rich psychopaths who think they're completely untouchable. Now that being said, Joe's not your typical billionaire, but what I'm trying to say, he's nothing really like Leon Prater. Leon Prater isn't a killer, Joe Goldberg is actually a killer. But one of Joe's biggest downfalls in season 5 was getting exposed by literal Redditors. Not the FBI and not some world-class investigator, I'm talking about just Redditors. I mean, it is what it is, the writers nerfed him, and I wish they made him go out in, more of a serious way, like let's say a manhunt by the FBI or something. But I mean, whatever, they just wanted to nerf the character down to the ground. But here's the thing, Joe has one thing over older Dexter. Joe in season 5 is still pretty young, and he's actually more physically fit than he actually ever was. In season 5, he actually got pretty buff. So he definitely could give Dexter a run for his money, but I just don't think it'll be 50-50. Now, if it was season 4 Joe Goldberg, I would put it in 50-50, but season 5 Joe Goldberg, but that's still a good ranking though. It'll take some time, means, these killers are pretty good. They're not chumps. If I put them here, they are chumps. And next we have Barry Berkman. Now, this version of Barry is way different from the hitman we met back in season 1. By season 4, Barry's more paranoid than ever, and he's trying to balance this weird mix of guilt that he has. But I mean, underneath all that guilt and everything that's going on in his mental, he is still a trained killer at the end of the day. That never leaves him. He still knows how to kill. Now, with all that Barry having military training being said, Barry has a big weakness, just like Joe kind of, is his emotion. Now, by season 4, he's breaking down mentally, as I already said. He's impulsive and he's kind of sloppy. Meanwhile, Dexter, even as an older man, still keeps his composure, and Dexter never really turns sloppy no matter how old he gets. This, honestly, here, I'm just gonna say this right now, this is 100% a 50-50. If this was season 1, Barry Berkman versus Resurrection Dexter, he would 100% beat Dexter, no questions asked. And next we have John Kramer. Now, for those of you who have watched the Saw movies, we all know that John isn't really a hands-on killer. armor. Instead, he traps his victims in his soul traps. His entire strength lies in strategy and psychological manipulation. This man could literally pull up to a random warehouse with a few tools and somehow build an entire torture machine. So if it ever came down to hand, Dexter would win, no doubt, just because, but it is kind of hard to even get to John in the first place. So this is where things will get interesting. Now there's two ways this could go. Dexter wakes up in the Jigsaw game. I feel like Dexter would have a chance if he woke up in there anyways, I'm not gonna lie. Because he's genuinely rational enough to follow the rules, and he's strong enough to endure the pain if it meant he was to survive. But I won't disrespect John too much. I will put him below Joe Goldberg. And next we have Roman Bridger. Now, Roman isn't your typical Ghostface. I think Roman is the best Ghostface of all time in the entire Scream franchise because he's actually smart and he pulled off what no other Ghostface managed to do. He worked alone. Now, Roman's a filmmaker, which means he's creative and he loves to control the narrative, and that plays a big part in how he kills. And when you stack him up against Dexter Morgan from Resurrection, things could start to kind of tilt. But his weakness is his ego. He always wants people to know he's the one behind the curtain, and that desire for recognition could be his downfall against someone like Dexter, who operates in complete silence. If Roman ever tried to toy with Dexter or lure him into one of his setups, I feel like Dexter would play along, but only to turn the tables later. Now, I will give him this. In a psychological battle, Roman will hold his own for a little bit because, he's clever and he's manipulative and he's good at misdirection. But Dexter's just way too experienced to fall for these theatrics. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it right there. Perfect. And next we have Leatherface. So for this, we'll do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. Now, this one's tricky because Leatherface isn't some genius or this mastermind killer. He's just basically a human tank with a chainsaw. Now, Dexter would have to rely completely on stealth and patience here. Honestly, no one from this list can 1v1 Leatherface hand-to-hand combat, dude. Like, this guy is huge. But then again, there's another tricky part to this kill because you need to get past Leatherface's entire family just to get him. Or let's just say you do kill Leatherface, you still need to get past his entire family to escape. If Dexter makes one wrong move in that house, he dies 100%. So honestly, I'm gonna have to put Leatherface at the top of 50-50 because it really could go either way. And next we have Patrick Bateman. To be honest, if you really think about it, I know I bully Patrick Bateman a lot, but on paper, this sounds like a matchup between two professionals because they both live double lives, they both blend in perfectly, and both have this weird obsession with control. Dexter, even at his old age, would beat Patrick Bateman to a pulp. It doesn't matter if he's 80, he's still beating Patrick Bateman, let's be honest. So I don't even have to say anything else. Patrick Bateman goes into a 1-episode kill, easy peasy. And next we have Norman Bates from Psycho. Now, Norman is a legend in fiction, in my opinion. He is the original boy next door type who just happens to be a serial killer, but with severe mommy issues. He's quiet and completely unpredictable when his other personality takes over. And when you break it down, Norman's strength isn't in combat or strategy, it's in deception. Now, Norman does have this weird unpredictability because he doesn't really look like a normal person, but once he snaps into that mommy personality, he's just a whole entire different person. So now if Dexter found out that Norman was the killer behind the Bates Motel, it would be pretty interesting. He would maybe even check into the motel pretending to be a guest because this is what he does with a lot of his victims. He just kind of blends in the background. So once he observes his behavior, Dexter would then make his move. 1 injection dose of M99, and before Norman knows it, he's up on the table. I would kind of give him a 1-episode kill, not gonna lie, and I would put him over Patrick Bateman. And last but not least, we have Ed Gein. Now, Ed's honestly more of a grave robber and a deranged craftsman than a true hunter. He's creepy, for sure, but he's not exactly a strategic or a efficient killer. Most of his crimes come from isolation and obsession, not really skill or crazy power. Ed, in my opinion, wouldn't really stand a chance against Dexter from Resurrection in a direct encounter. So with Ed, probably just put him right there. Bada bing, bada boom. So yeah, what do you guys think about this tier list? I know it can be pretty interesting since it's now older Dexter and we're not doing prime Dexter, so there might be a lot of other opinions that you guys have since Resurrection is just really fresh. So I don't know, this is just based off of my opinion from what I've seen in Resurrection versus what I've seen from these other serial killers on their last episodes of their shows, or last seasons of their shows, or movies, or older movies, or you guys know what I mean. But yeah, what do you guys think?